Hey everyone, welcome back to Her Campus at American University's podcast MISSEDUCATION, where we chat about topics that we find both passion and relevancy in. So despite all the craziness 2020 has brought us, we're excited and ready to get back into this podcast, and we hope you all enjoy it too. So today on the mic, we have myself, Wyatt. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a senior at American University in the School of International Service, and I'm the multimedia director here at Her Campus.
And I'm Alle. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm also a senior at American. I'm in SOC studying journalism, and I am the outreach director at Her Campus.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being on, Alle. So today we're going to be talking about how many universities have decided to go online for the fall semester, how it's looking for those who chose to stay open, and how the transition has affected students and communities who are living in college towns.
So now we're just going to go over some fast facts about the topic. I think one of the best ways to look at this and how it's affected different colleges and how they've responded over time. So as many people probably know, many colleges who originally planned to bring students back to campus for fall 2020 had to backtrack as we came to terms with the fact that we're not doing so well as a country in terms of COVID-19.
Yeah, so a great example of these kind of differing approaches, which is pretty relevant to me because I'm currently in Chapel Hill with my family, which is awesome, is the difference between colleges like UNC Chapel Hill or UNC South Carolina. So UNC Chapel Hill got in the news because they brought back students and they reported 218 new COVID cases as of August 24th. So they've decided to officially move to online learning after just a week into their semester, which was one of the biggest colleges to go online after trying to start in person. But in contrast, University of South Carolina has reported 654 cases as of September 7th, which is a decrease from their reported 1,461 cases on September 3rd. But they're continuing to go on with in-person classes, just with some safety precautions like social distance classrooms and limitations on social gatherings and stuff like that. But it's kind of crazy just to think of how many cases that they're having, but they're going on despite that.
According to the New York Times, one of the biggest way COVID is spreading is from sorority and fraternity gatherings, which have been reported across the country, causing some universities to close down.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons why UNC decided to shut down after there was some controversy about a cluster of COVID cases happening at one of their fraternities, and then sororities doing, illegal kind of recruitment and rush. So yeah, I think something I was thinking about when writing this was just that it's really important for college students to recognize how their actions are impacting the local communities and families in the college towns they're returning to, especially since being in Chapel Hill, it's always been really cool having the college right there. But during this time, it was kind of a stressful thing to transition back into, just because of COVID and how Chapel Hill was doing pretty well. And then knowing that students coming back may raise the cases and make it a little bit less safe. So another thing is just that a significant impact beyond just us not being able to go out safely back to college, but in regards to school, is the effects that COVID's having on K through 12 students. So just 1 in 7 parents have said that their students will be returning to school full time. 4 in 5 said they would have no in-person help, and 85% said that they would be handling both work remotely while also providing childcare at the same time. And I don't know about you, Alle, but I've noticed a lot of these effects in my job. So I'm nannying, and basically I'm just nannying for this woman because she has to watch her 5-year-old son do online kindergarten, but also has a 2-year-old daughter. So I'm just hanging out with the 2-year-old daughter basically so she can make her 5-year-old sit at the table.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, it just seems very stressful.
I have a lot of my friends who have graduated, are having a hard time finding jobs right now. And one of the biggest and easiest ways to make money is to just nanny, because there's so many nanny jobs right now because people need the help. And I mean, if you're willing to help, then it's awesome, and that's good because people need it.
Yeah, and it just sucks to think about people who, can't afford that level of childcare, especially I'm sure in DC, like, the rates for nannying are probably super high. Um, Anywhere really, like, here, some people pay, like, up to $20 an hour, and so it's just kinda it's sad to think for people who are having to deal with work or have to go somewhere for their work, and then also have to try and figure out childcare when,
At the same time, yeah.
yeah, they'd
Um,
be relying on public education for that instead.
are you home full time? Are you
Yeah, so
okay.
yeah, I've been back since March. Are
Mhm.
you back in DC or are you also
So
staying?
I'm kind of in between. I live in a college town as well. I live in
Mhm,
Williamsburg, Virginia, which is where the College of William and Mary is. So I'm very familiar
mhm,
with that whole environment that you're speaking about,
yeah,
in terms of like college frat parties and the small town environment. But yeah, so I'm back home most of the time, but I come up to DC pretty frequently to visit my friends because I live
right.
so close. So it's easy.
Yeah, I went up for just, like, a week, and it was nice. I mean, I think it's the kind of thing where you want to, like, feel grateful for all the positions that you're put in where it's like, I do have the ability to be home, and, like, I do have a family I feel comfortable living with. But it's also definitely challenging, to think that you're spending your senior year at
Yeah.
home and not in, DC with your friends and stuff like that, which in the grand scheme of things is like a minor problem, but it also is pretty, I don't know, it's tiring, I guess, to having gone from being so independent to
Yeah,
then
for
going
sure.
back and being with
For
your
sure.
family, I think.
I think it's interesting because it almost brings you back to like high school.
Mhm.
Feel like
Oh
you're
my
in
god,
that
yeah.
same yeah, you feel like you're in that same environment. And my parents always tell me they're like, like you're allowed to go out and do things. And I'm like, but really, am I? Because of course,
Right.
like
And, like, what is there to do?
exactly, yeah, like
No, I've said that too, and then when I went to DC, like, I love my family, I love them, but it was kind of like a weight off my shoulders that I didn't know I had almost because, yeah, just going from being able to kinda do what you wanna do and eat what you wanna eat and, hang out
yeah,
with who you wanna hang out with to yeah, it definitely does feel like high school, which is,
crazy.
not the best, but and I
um,
think that I've read some where some people were just talking about how this is kind of like we're all going through a collective trauma, and definitely, like, certain people are experiencing it at a different level than others, which is 100% true, but I think it's okay that, you recognize your privilege in situations and you recognize what you should be grateful for, but also recognize that, like, it's okay to not be super happy about this situation and, like, wish it were different,
yeah,
so I try and give myself some patience and kindness in that way.
which is nice. It's a good self-reflection time too, and I think that
Mhm,
we can all agree that collectively it really is difficult right now, and that
mhm,
everybody's going through a hard time. So we're going to recognize that, and we're going to just keep
mhm.
going because we
Right.
need to.
Yeah,
um,
'cause what else can you do?
yeah, what else are we supposed to do? Do you think that classes are more difficult online? Because we're fully online now. So America
Right.
made us go fully online, which I
Mhm.
think, in the grand scheme of things, is a really good decision.
Yeah, I agree. I think last semester, transitioning from in-person to online sucked. Like, I did not like online classes, and I think that was mostly because, like, teachers didn't really have a good plan for what they were gonna do, but
Not
I
at all.
really feel
Yeah.
like this semester has definitely well, obviously for good reason, but they felt more prepared, and so it hasn't felt, like, so crazy hectic that, like, especially just, like, knowing, okay, it's not gonna be the same, we're not gonna have the same levels of conversation, like, I might have to take the reins a little bit more, do a little bit more lecturing, like, do some more discussion posts, but not, like, a crazy amount. Like, I felt like last semester, I would have, like, 3 hours of work for, like, 1 discussion post, and I was like, "Why?" Like, it's
Yeah.
not in-person class, like, there's no reason. But
Yeah.
how do you feel about it?
Um, I completely agree. I think like transitioning from, being in person to online was a really difficult jump. And that it made it more difficult. But now the teachers have adjusted and, they have a set plan, it's a little bit easier. I noticed for myself though, when I'm sitting in Zoom calls for class and everything, I'm much less talkative than I would be when I'm in class. And I don't know if that's just like,
100%.
I think I feel like it should be the reverse. I feel like I should be more
Mhm.
talkative in Zoom because it's like, okay, you're not actually with these people. But I just cannot, I can never bring myself to unmute the mic.
I know. I feel, like, so shy for no reason.
Yeah,
And, like
your face
and
pops
that's
up.
most of the people I've talked to have seemed like they felt that way too. And it is super weird. Also, like, the chat box is nice, but it's awkward because it takes people a minute to, like, write things, so you just sit in silence for a little while before, like,
Yeah,
anyone says anything.
yeah.
It's like an awkward situation, and, like, I think a nice thing about being in person is this definitely doesn't happen with every class, but sometimes, like, your class kinda has a nice vibe to it, and people start, like, becoming, like, friendly, and it's a chill, like, environment, and you feel like you can talk more and more casually, and in Zoom, you just don't really get that.
No, not at all. And I think for my major for journalism, we have to do interviews with people.
Mhm,
And it's made it significantly more difficult to, have do interviews with people over Zoom. I mean, not difficult. That's
mhm,
the wrong word. It's just kind of I get really stressed out about it because I'm like, okay, these people are going to see me. Like, not that they wouldn't see me in person, but
right,
like it creates a totally different environment for you because you don't know how like the person's going to react to the question you're asking them. And I feel like that's
mhm.
true for even classrooms. Like you can't read the vibe. Like it's very
Yeah,
confusing.
yeah. They did some, like, because 'cause I'm a peer educator with HPAC, and so we had to do, like, a orientation over the summer, and they were talking to us about how, um, it's kind of been shown that, yeah, people don't like, you can't pick up on cues that you would in person, just, like, nonverbal cues. So it's just really different to talk to people over Zoom because you don't get that same level of, like, nonverbal communication that you would in person. So it's just and everyone's just, like, in their bedrooms and, like, in pajamas, and you don't have any reason to, like, look nice, and it's just, like and Zoom is also tiring, like, Zoom drain is real.
Yeah.
Like, going in person was also tiring, but, like, it's just exhausting to just sit at your desk for like, Tuesdays, I have class from 9:45 to 5:20 at night, and it's just, like
Mhm.
it's just so boring, and, like, especially because you don't wanna talk that much, and, like, it's just yeah. I
I
feel
noticed
like I'm
myself.
kind of over it.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that was it.
I noticed myself in between classes, I like will watch TV really quick. Like even
Mhm.
because you have like that 20-minute block normally, like in between classes,
Yeah.
if you have classes back to back. And you normally that time is for me like, okay, walk from one side of campus to the
Mhm.
other. But now I'm not doing that. So I'm like, I'll just sit down and watch
Yeah.
TV until my next class
Let's
starts.
watch TikTok, like
Like just sit on your phone.
yeah. It's just, like it's because I feel like what I used to use to decompress in school, which
Mhm,
also probably wasn't the best, was, yeah, just, like, watching movies and
mhm.
stuff, and now I've kind of been like, "Okay, well, that's just what I do all the time, like, what do I use to decompress because I'm just bored of watching TV, and I never thought I would get to that point."
Yeah.
That's not a good sign. I'm also like, I should probably get, like, blue light glasses or something because 'cause we're all gonna be, like, blind after
Well, then massive experience.
yeah, like, it it's very tiring for my eyes.
I notice, like, I use my phone more in this is so bad to say. I use my phone more in Zoom classes
Mm,
than I would sitting in a regular class, because when you're sitting in a regular classroom,
sure.
like, and professor is lecturing, you're obviously paying attention, you're engaged, there's,
Mhm.
like, again, the vibe of the room is different, but when you're sitting in a Zoom lecture, half of those people are sitting there with their heads down on their
Right,
phone, like, not paying
right.
attention. And it's just kind of like, okay, I'm in this class, but I'm on my phone. I should be paying attention, but it's just like really easy to not pay attention.
I know, especially teachers who, like I've heard mixed things about this, but some of my professors are like, keep your camera off, and some like make me have it on. But the ones who say turn it off, I'm like, literally, I don't have to listen to you at all if I don't want to. And so it's a big level of, yeah, just like accountability and
Mhm.
making yourself do things because like otherwise you're literally just sitting there muted with your camera off. They have no idea what you're doing. Like I just did BuzzFeed quizzes during one of my classes the other day. I was like, why am I doing this? Like
Yeah,
I'm paying however much fucking money to be in this class and I'm doing BuzzFeed quizzes. Like why?
yeah. And I feel bad because I miss having those connections with my professors and being able
Mhm,
to talk to them after class or, hey, does this paper look okay? Does this sound like bouncing ideas off of them? And, normally professors are really good about their office hours and like having Zoom calls with you. I did one with my
mhm.
advanced reporting professor and she was amazing. And I was like, I should have done this sooner. I feel so much better.
Right.
um, but it's just I miss being able to talk to them and, and get to know more about them. I think a huge part of AU's culture is your professors are there to like really help you get career opportunities.
Right, like, networking is a lot
Yeah,
more difficult now.
it
Like,
it
before
really is.
you kinda had to go out of your way, but now it's like you really have to go out of your way, and you're not casually seeing them around campus and, like, yeah, building that relationship in a different way, like, even just something where you walk by them and you wave and you're like, "Oh, yeah, we know each other." Like, you just don't get that anymore, and you really even just stuff like, I don't know why they gave me this grade on a paper is, like, now I can't even go ask them in person, like, it has to solely be on email, and, like, I feel nervous about doing that kinda thing too because I'm like, I don't wanna come across a certain way, but, like, they don't know me, so they don't know what, like, tone I'm using or, like, if this is stuff that's normal for me, like, it just kinda sucks just not having that relationship with people where they actually know, like, who you are as a person, and it's just kind of fully over the screen. And
Yeah.
even then, like, they don't always even see your face.
Exactly, and it's back to your point of how you say things or, like, how like, when I send emails to professors, I'm like, "Okay, how is this gonna come across? Do I sound
Mhm.
too snippety?" Like, the other day with my advanced reporting professor, she was like, "Just so you know, this is turned in a little bit late." I was like, it actually wasn't." Like, I tried to
Right.
come off really nice, and when I was later on Zoom with her, she goes, "I'm sorry if I came off snippety, like, I really didn't mean to." I was like, "No, it's fine, like, I'm really good about making sure I turn things in on time," and I was stressed out
Mhm.
about it.
Right. That's another thing too with
Hard.
assignments, like, I just feel like that's one thing that I think sucks about this, is that, like, the syllabi are so all over the place, like,
Mhm.
that there's one random day you won't have class, like, synchronously, and that you just have random assignments due at random times, and that if you're not, like, constantly kind of writing things down and looking at the syllabi, then, like, you're bound to, yeah, turn something in late, and same for me, like, it makes me so uncomfortable to, like, turn in anything late, and I feel so bad, and I'm like, "I'm a failure." But it's hard to, like, I got this full-on planner because I was like, "I'm gonna miss something if I don't, like, actually write all this down, like, 2 weeks in advance because
How
there's
do
just so
you
much going on."
how do you turn your assignments in? Do you, like, email them to your professor, or do you turn them in through Blackboard? Because a lot of my assignments are due over email, and that stresses me out even more
Mm,
because I'm like, I can only imagine how many emails professor
right,
gets because as a student, I get a decent amount. And
right.
so I'm like, how are you going through all of these people's, work and
Mhm.
making sure they're on time or what have you?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing too, is that, like, half is on Blackboard, half is on Canvas, some things are on email, some classes are Blackboard, Collaborate, some are Zoom, like, so, you just I guess you gotta know which class wants you to turn things in which way and which professor wants you to, like, message them on Canvas versus email them, like,
Mhm.
I don't know why they transitioned us to Canvas 4
Um,
days before classes started,
I
but I
was
feel like it could have happened earlier.
yeah. Like, this
Some
was
better planning around that would have been nice.
the worst time to do it, like,
Yeah,
the worst
literally.
time to transition to
I remember I got the email for it, and I was just like, "Are you kidding me? Like, is this a joke?"
it.
And then I thought everyone would go to Canvas, but then some just haven't said anything about it and are just fully on Blackboard, and I'm like, "Alright." I mean, so now I just got all my bookmarks, and I'm like, "Okay, just gotta remember which class is doing what, where, at what time, and when things are due on which platform, whenever." So I feel lucky that I have a level of organization that allows me to, like, take care of that stuff, but I feel bad for people who maybe, like, their ability to kind of, like, manage those assignments and stuff, like, my stepbrother, like, he needs my dad to, like, sit down with him and, like, tell him when stuff is due in this online kinda platform. So
Mhm.
I'm just like, it would really suck in college, if you didn't have that support system to, like, and didn't maybe know how to do time management so much, or, like, didn't know that maybe a planner would help you or something. Like, I can just assume that this would be a very stressful environment to be in if you weren't so good at, like, managing that stuff for yourself.
Yeah, like, it definitely is I mean, in college, you have some degree of self-sufficiency, but
Mhm.
I feel like especially now, even though it's such a weird quandary because, like, you're home with your parents, but also you're doing your own thing at the same time in
Right.
terms of school, and so you have to, like, make sure you know for yourself when things are due, what time, when, like,
Mhm.
where, how, like, exactly what
Yeah.
platform. So
Mhm.
it's overwhelming, and I think as a student, you just have to, like, keep going and know
Yeah.
it's gonna get better.
And something I've really appreciated is I've really only had, like, 2 classes do this, but just when the professor acknowledges, like, "Hey, this is a really crazy time, and, like, it's okay if you're not super okay." Because I think when something I noticed both last semester and coming into this semester is that some professors kind of see you as a student before a person, and it's like, you don't have to be 100% okay, and, like, they don't know everything that you're going through, and, like, even just beyond COVID, just normal life stuff, or just even the stress of being home after not being home, or maybe you're not in a great home environment, or, like, maybe you have to work a ton because you're financially stressed, or, that there are so many different circumstances, which there normally are, but then put a pandemic on top of it and put the election on top of it, which I know is really stressful for some people.
Mhm.
And so it's just like, I think it's nice when some professors just acknowledge, like, "Hey, it's okay if you're not gonna be, at the top of your game 100% of the time right now, and, like, if you can communicate that with me, and I'm gonna work with you." But I just think acknowledging that was, like, helpful to me because it made me feel like, "Okay, I wanna put in more work for your class now because you treated me like a person and
Mhm.
not just, like, on a little box on your Zoom." So that was something I appreciated that I saw from some people.
Yeah, I think that's important too. My previous professors, a lot of them have done that. Like when we were transitioning into
Mhm.
online classes last March, like that was a huge thing. They were really good about that. I feel like now though, some of my professors have said that, but some are just like we have to make do with what we're doing. It's important, and this is what we're doing. So you just have to keep going, keep pushing
Right,
through it.
right. Which for sure we do to a certain extent, like, there's no
Yeah.
doubt, like, what are you gonna do unless you wanna, like, defer or something, which they
Mhm.
also made that pretty difficult to do from the webinar I saw on it, but yeah,
Who's
it's just
trying
nice.
actually. That's funny that you mentioned that because, like, I thought, for online classes, I wasn't really sure. And for a lot of SOC students, you get to use the equipment that comes with being in the studio a lot.
Right,
And so that's like a huge part of your major is being able to work this equipment. And you don't get to do that when you're obviously at home. So I was thinking about deferring, and I was like, you know what? I might as well just do it and grin and bear it because I know so many other people are also in the same boat, and
right.
it's okay to like be miserable about
Yeah,
it.
and, like, it's sad because you don't want your senior year to be like, "Okay,
No.
let's get it over with," like
So,
Right.
but I noticed for myself too. So I work pretty much full time. Not well, yeah, pretty much full time. I do a bunch of different things. I work at a bar and then I work at a law office, which I just started the law office, so I can't really speak to it very
Oh,
well. But when I do go to work, a lot of the times, like, I have to make sure that my everything is turned in beforehand. Like, if I work
Mhm.
from 11:30 to 7, I have to make sure that the things that are due at noon that day are
Yeah.
turned in beforehand, which adds another layer of stress for me, I feel like, which is also it's also good because it's good time management, but it's overwhelming sometimes because 'cause I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, I have all this to do and it's not due until later, but I don't have time to do it, so I'm just gonna
Yeah.
get it done now."
Definitely. And then it's like, where does the time for, like, just, like, chilling and self-care and all that kind of stuff come in? Because like, and I felt the same, I'm like, "Well, maybe I should be working more." Like,
Mhm.
am I not doing, like, because I have this downtime and I'm like, well, now because I stayed home partly so that I could work, and so I'm like, "Well, should I just be working more so I can, like, save more money? Because I guess now I have some time," but then I think about everything I'm doing and I'm like, "Okay, maybe it's alright that I, don't fill up every minute of my day," which I think is a big part of AU culture, which is weird now that I feel like I fit into it more than when I was actually on campus. Because I felt like on campus, I was able to distance myself from that kind of, like, you have to be busy all the time mentality, but now I'm kinda like, yeah, I almost want to be working more though, like, I think I'm just tired of being in my room all the time.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it's a good stress relief. I feel like for myself, especially at the, bar, like, it's very I get to see people my own age out
mhm,
doing things and, like, out enjoying themselves to some extent, which is good, and it's nice to see people having a good time and just
right,
being present in the moment and happy, despite
right,
everything else, it's nice to see.
yeah,
And I mean, alcohol helps, but
right.
it's really nice.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just nice to see, like, humanity
Yeah,
again, for sure.
exactly.
I Go ahead.
No, I don't even remember what I was gonna say.
Yeah, I think sometimes I'm like, "When did we even not wear masks?" And, like, it's gonna be such a long time, I think, before, well, people who do wear masks. But
Mhm.
it's gonna be weird, I think, to feel safe again,
I
even after this is over.
Oh, yeah, for sure, and I was talking to my mom, about this because I said, "What if they come back and they're like, 'Okay, we can stop wearing masks now.' Like, do you think you would?" Just knowing the information that you know
Right,
about corona. She's like, "To be honest with you, I don't think I'll ever really want to take it off because I feel like a sense of security in it almost." Um,
mhm,
which I can totally agree with. I feel like I feel like already I'm kind of a germaphobe, so
right.
to wear the mask is just helpful for me.
I know, I'm so much more aware, like, I'm like, "Oh my god, I was getting people's droplets on me, like, constantly before this," like,
Yeah.
and, like, just washing my hands so much more, and, yeah, just being so much more aware of people around me, and I'm like, "Ew." Like, why was I not ever more aware of this before? But then I'm like, "Oh, that's so sad, like, I just wanna go to a concert."
Mhm.
But I think it's hard to feel like there's really no end in sight for us.
Yeah. Yeah, especially in terms of, like, school and senior year, it's really hard because I feel like we're I feel bad for all the graduates from last year, they didn't really get anything and still haven't got
Mhm.
anything. But now, us going into our senior year, what is, May gonna look like? Is it
Right.
gonna be the same situation? Are we going into like this? It's looking like might be going into the same workforce that they entered into. So,
Yeah.
um, same economy,
That's
basically,
exciting.
which is terrifying. So it's hard. There's
Yeah.
again, there feels like no end in sight, but hopefully.
And you're just like, eventually we gotta something has to change, like, eventually
Yeah,
everyone has to get it, or I don't know, I think it'll be the vaccine
yeah.
that'll help the situation the most, but yeah, it's hard to, especially just with how so many people have reacted to this in such, like, an idiotic way. That is just so frustrating to me.
Mhm.
That is like, we really could have been done with this by now.
Yeah.
Like, because sometimes I'm like, "Okay, well, yeah, New Zealand, like, they have less people," but then I'm like, even places like China or India are, like, faring better than us. Like, what
Yeah, and we have issues
It's
with college grad
sad.
studies, like,
Right.
that's where we're at.
Right. Yeah, I know the World Health Organization came out saying that, like, I don't know if it was just for the US. Also, someone can fact check me because this is just like a vague fact, but that like young people were one of the biggest risks for spreading it at this point.
Yeah, I think I've heard that too. I think I've heard
Yeah, just like, fuck it. I want to go out. I want to see my friends. I don't care anymore. And it's like, it's just continuously happen. And people are like, it's not, I'm not even going to get that sick. And I'm like, well, you really don't know that though. Like,
Yeah. I think also for at least for me, when I do come visit my friends in DC, there's such like a culture here now that you get tested biweekly. Like a lot of my friends like are always getting tested.
really?
Yeah, like and every time I'm around them, they're like, "Have you been tested?" I'm like, "Yes, I've been tested." Like, or "No, I haven't been tested." It's just
Mhm.
kind of it's crazy. To
Yeah.
think that like people are asking each other now, "Okay, have you been tested? Can I like be around you? Do I
Mm,
you still have your friendships, but at
right.
a distance?"
It is so like, yeah, I would not think a year ago that that would be a common question to ask
Yeah,
your friends, for
yeah. Have
sure.
you been tested for COVID?
Right. Have you had the virus? Am I
Yeah,
can I be within 6 feet of you without a mask on?
yeah.
It is just crazy how quickly it became the norm.
For sure. But yeah, it really did. It was like a flip of a switch kind of thing. Like this is what we need to, which
Yeah.
I think was good because it was showing that people were taking it seriously.
Mhm,
People are taking it seriously. There
mhm.
are people who aren't going out and aren't going to like these parties and aren't, are
Right.
taking the necessary precautions, which I feel like I've tried to do my best in taking part of like making sure everybody around me is safe, including myself.
Mhm.
But there are people who care, which is good
Right,
and
definitely.
important at this
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. I think I've just come to terms with the fact that I can't control what other people are gonna do, so I just have to, like, put myself in the, like, most safe, most comfortable situation that I can, and, like, that's all you can really do at this point. Like, you're not gonna change other people's behavior who just don't care about it.
Yeah,
So
exactly, exactly. But I know for William and Mary, I can't speak to whether their classes are fully online or if they're going in or whatnot, but
mhm.
I haven't really had I don't think they've had a lot of issues with parties or anything.
Right.
Is interesting to me because, I thought that they might, but
Mhm.
I haven't heard anything as a local townie, I
Right.
haven't heard
Of course.
anything, regarding that, and so I
Yeah.
feel like that's a good sign.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's weird because I was reading, like, our local newspaper, and it was talking about how there's so much conflicting interest around this because like a lot of local business owners are really happy, that students are coming back because it's been such a struggle the past few months.
Mhm,
But then at the same time, it's like, is that really worth what happened? Like they said that they were keeping dorms at like 30% capacity or something, and then turns out like most people were in, a double with neighbors all around them, and like
mhm,
that it just wasn't what they said it was gonna be, and the I live in Orange County, and the Orange County Health Service person, like, sent UNC a letter, I think a week before students were coming back being like, "Hey, please don't bring students back," which also I was like, that feels just kinda like covering your ass because
mhm.
people are mad about it, and, like, what are they gonna do a week before? Be like, "Hey, no," to all these people who already got, like, leases or signed up for room and board and everything, but
Yeah,
it was kind of, to me, felt inevitable that there was gonna be a lot of cases, and I feel bad, especially for, like, freshmen and stuff, who have to do their first semester online, but it was kinda like, what do you think was gonna happen? Like,
yeah,
let's be real, you brought a bunch of, like, teenagers and young 20-year-olds back who haven't, like, seen their friends in 5 months, or, like, it's the first time that they're living away from home.
mhm.
And there's like, you know, all the bars are open and restaurants and everything. Like, what do it was kinda, like, bound to happen.
Yeah, it's just so difficult, and I feel so terrible that there are so many people who are really struggling with, like, actually having
Mhm.
COVID and, like, being affected by it
Right.
and, like, people pass away from it, and it's so sad that this is, like,
Yeah.
where we're at. This is the state of affairs, you know?
Yeah. It really is. Yeah, that's kind of another thing that yeah, with the collective trauma thing that it's
Mhm.
like, even if you haven't been personally affected in terms of getting sick or knowing someone who has, that, like, so many people around you probably have.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's just like, yeah, it's just really sad.
I feel like at one point everybody will know somebody who's been affected by it. I feel
Right.
like that is just, like, the with where we're at right now, with the road that we're heading on and, like, how things are going, that's how I feel is, like, what's gonna happen. Is, like, you're not gonna know somebody who wasn't affected by it.
For sure. And I think it's also really sad that, like, particularly people in communities with predominantly people of color are being so badly affected by this.
Yeah, for sure.
And especially just during the time of, like, Black Lives Matter and everything, and that it's, like, just another example of why all that needs to change too. Like, yeah, there's just I feel so much constantly going on that
Mhm.
it's hard to feel okay about, like, almost hard to feel okay about, like, feeling good sometimes.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure, like, I feel like there's so much happening, and it's good that it's happening because it
right,
needs to happen, and it
100%.
needs to change, but, I feel almost a sense of, like, feeling guilty for being happy around certain things, like, I love going to work, and,
Mhm.
like, that make I love working, like, I love
Right.
doing that, and I feel guilty about it because 'cause I'm like, "Oh my god,"
Mhm.
like, there's so many people who are out of work, and I'm so lucky
Yeah,
that I'm able to work.
right. I know. I think it's just, yeah, like we were saying earlier, just like a period of self-reflection and understanding what there is to be grateful for. And I think that's something I try and be like, it's okay if today I don't feel good. It's okay if today I do feel good. Like,
Mhm.
it's okay that I'm not super grateful for certain things, and it's good that I am for other things. So just, I guess, yeah, being patient and kind with yourself right now, I think, is just an important thing.
So important.
Okay. Well, deep breath. We're gonna end this with a lighthearted game, which I was thinking about as I just went to Target the other day and bought way too many things.
Mhm.
Um, but I feel like during this time, especially, I don't know if you have TikTok, but TikTok and, like, social media really just took consumerism and, like, ran with it. Um, and they just kind of started all these, like, new fads or goals that I think a lot of people had for themselves. So it's kind of like a yay or nay kind of thing of if you jumped onto this consumerism train.
Alright.
So the first one is a skincare routine. Did you get into, like, a new skincare
I
situation at all?
don't like, I already had, like, a really, I feel like rigorous skincare routine
Mhm,
to begin with, like, I love doing skincare stuff, so, like, I love face masks, I love, like, those, rose quartz rollers, like,
oh, yeah, of
um
course.
but I didn't really feel like I changed anything. I mean, I did catch myself doing a lot of face masks with my mom and
Mhm,
sister over quarantine, so maybe, I guess.
yeah,
So I think yay.
okay, yeah. Yeah, I definitely got into it, like, hardcore over quarantine because I was like, "What else am I gonna do besides, pile things onto my face in AM and PM?" But I enjoy it now, like, I
Yeah,
think I didn't have a good one before, so it's probably actually a good thing that because it seems like an important thing. Like, most of these are, just, like, healthy things, so I'm like, "Okay, that's alright." But, like, stuff like The Ordinary, or, like, CeraVe and stuff like that, that I
yeah.
just got from, like, Skincare Hiram on TikTok, and I'm like, "Wow, I know I'm a dermatologist now." Okay, what about a workout regimen?
So I already really had a
Mhm,
pretty strict workout regimen. I've written about running in DC before for her
mhm,
campus. Um, so but I do think I started working out like a lot more over. quarantine and now, I feel like
Mhm.
I've kind of created a schedule for myself because I run. So
Right.
I'll run like whenever I have the time or whenever I'm in the mornings. And normally like it starts my day. So yeah, I definitely did hop on this trend a little bit.
Right. But yeah, you're already doing it. Good for you. Yeah. So I was doing it somewhat, I'll be honest. I yeah, I, like, did so many sports and stuff in, like, middle school, high school, and then I just was like, "No, thanks, I guess," and just
Mhm.
stopped. But so I yeah, just having so much time, especially because this was the first summer I did online classes, that I was like, "What do I do with myself?" So, like, me and my sister would do we got a Peloton.
Oh my
My
gosh.
stepmom yeah, it's awesome, but my stepmom was like, "I'm gonna literally go crazy, so I need to get a Peloton." So we were like, "Ugh, fine, like, if you have to, like, I guess we'll use it." But they have the whole app thing, you know?
Yeah,
So it has, like, dance classes and, like, stretching and has stuff for if you're going on walks or runs or, like, hit whatever and, like, core stuff, so we did a lot of Peloton
that's nice.
classes and such.
I also
I gave up on the bike part pretty quick. I didn't enjoy that too much,
no,
but like the
everything else.
app. The app was enough for me.
I'm also gonna plug this app, Down Dog, if you are into yoga. It's
Mhm.
amazing. It's like a it's
No.
I you it's a set up so that you can pick the kind of yoga you wanna do. If you wanna do, like, a boost, you can do, like, a core, a flexibility, you can pick how long you wanna do it, how long you want your shavasana to be or yeah. Um,
Yeah.
it's really nice, and it's only, like, $30 for the whole year. And I
Oh,
think
wow.
for students, you get a discount too, but, like, it's endless. It's not like a class-based kind of thing, so, like, you're not, like, signing up for classes or anything
Mhm.
or, like, tuning in. It's, like, whenever
Right.
you get the time or whenever you're free, you can pick
Recording
how
for
long,
myself.
what you wanna do, so highly recommend. I actually love it. It's how I get my stretching in, so
Yeah. I definitely feel sitting at my desk all day, like, in between classes sometimes, I'm like, I just need to stretch a little bit because
oh,
I
yeah.
j yeah, just get so tight sitting in my chair all day. Okay. Another one that I saw on TikTok quite a lot was attempting to learn makeup, and this feels pretty much like it's for no reason because you can't really go anywhere, especially at the beginning, but
Mhm.
did you or maybe you already were a makeup guru, I don't know.
So, yeah, no. I do not. I don't wear a lot of makeup, like,
Mhm,
I don't really like the way it feels on my skin. Like, I'll wear mascara, and I'll wear some blush, but aside from that, I really don't go that far out. But my sister loves makeup, like,
mhm.
she loves it. So over quarantine, we did do a lot of makeup together just 'cause, like, I would let her do it to my face 'cause
Right.
I don't care. So I was like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." And she got really good at it. She's, like, very, very good at it.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's good in case you ever actually do want to wear some and you
Yeah,
have just
yeah.
a personal
Um
makeup artist, that's nice.
But I did get better at, like, some things, like, now I know how
Mm,
to, like, apply eyeshadow properly, you
right.
know?
Yeah, I feel the same. I've never maybe I've attempted sometimes, but, like, yeah, I feel like it never looks that good on especially, like, foundation and concealer and stuff, I just feel like it never looks good or natural on me,
Mhm.
so I just have not and especially now with my skincare routine, I'm like, "Ugh, I can't clog the pores."
Exactly.
So, yeah, I invested in some new stuff, but I would not say that I mastered it by any means.
No.
But it was fun to and my sister, like you said, my sister likes it a lot, so we would go to Ulta and spend too much money, and then it's just sitting in my drawer now, but I'm like, maybe, someday
Yeah.
it'll be good to have. Okay, um, and then, there's a lot of kind of ironic, again, for the times, but lots of fashion, TikTok and Instagram and stuff. Did you feel like you at all ever maybe spent a little too much doing online shopping during quarantine?
Oh, this I feel this one on so many levels, yes. I literally, like whenever I get my paychecks, normally it goes towards clothes, which is
Mhm.
it's so materialistic of me, I feel so bad. I mean, it goes
I've come to terms with the fact that I'm not a minimalist.
But I totally did do this, and I'm still doing this. Like,
Mhm.
I order clothes constantly, all the time, and it's
That's
always from I wear, like, maybe 3 brands. Like, I work
Mhm.
for Free People like it's my job. Like, I
Mhm. I
all
love
the
seeing
time.
people do it. Yeah, I same. And then I'm like, literally where why? Like, I have no place to wear this. Like, my job is nannying. Like, I'm not gonna dress cute. Like, there's no reason. But I'm always like, but when the bar is open again, or like when the club's open, like this will definitely be something I wear. And now it's just in my closet. But yeah, I agree. And especially because when I was nannying over the summer, it was a different nannying job and I was making like bank. So I was like, who even cares? Like I have all this money, like might as well spend it. Like what else am I doing? And then I look at my savings now and I'm like, oh, you're like, yeah, that's where it was supposed to go. But I don't regret it because I agree. I love clothes. Like I have way too many,
Yeah,
but it's just fun to put together outfits and stuff. Sometimes just for no reason, like just going to CVS and you just need to look cute. Like you just need it for yourself.
exactly, exactly.
Okay, cool. Well, that just about sums up our first episode of the semester. Thanks so much for listening in and stay tuned for more episodes coming up. As usually as usual, we'd like to thank this is weird, myself.
Yeah, Wyatt, thank you very much for everything for
The
doing.
executive producer. Our co-host, Allie, the editor, Isabel Thompson. Welcome to the team. Thank you so much for the work you're going to do for us. And for more from her campus at AU, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Her Campus AU to keep up to date with MISSEDUCATION and check out AU Her Campus articles on the Her Campus page under the American University tab. And for all of our sources, they will be linked below. Thank you guys so much. Thanks, Allie.
Thank you.